As I was preparing, God sent me back to my childhood. How do you preach pastor appreciation? You know, I just sitting there and I was just praying to God, just kind of get in tune with His Spirit. He said, "What do you do?" And He sent me back to my childhood. And He sent me back to one of my favorite books growing up, Robert the Rose Horse. Now, I called all these fancy libraries up here because I couldn't find my old copy and all this moving. And all these libraries didn't have my book. So I had to call Amazon. I paid for Prime, 2-day free shipping. Well, I got it. I did it, got my free shipping, and then they said it will arrive Monday. And I was like, oh, my goodness, it's not acceptable. So I had to get to 1 day. I had to cancel that order and get 1 day shipping just so I could read you this book this morning. Now, Robert the Rose Horse, the story is pretty simple. Maybe I should have got that not handheld mic, but it says Robert was a happy little horse. He lived on a farm. He lived with his mother and father. Don't worry, I'm not going to read the whole book. One day, Robert had a party. It was his birthday party. All his friends came to the party. See, that's his friends. Okay. They had a big cake. "Happy birthday, Robert," said all of his friends. "Happy birthday to you." See, I've already practiced this thing because I made my wife sit down when I got this book in and I read it to her. The cake was very pretty. It had big red roses all around it. Robert liked the big red roses. He put his nose right into one. He took a big old sniff because that's what we do, right? We sniff roses. Then Robert began to feel funny. His eyes began to itch. His nose began to itch. I'm reading fast because I know you're going to get hungry shortly. And then kerchoo! Robert sneezed. What a sneeze. How about I do it like this? Up went his farm friends. Have you ever sneezed so bad that you done knock your friends down? Up went your farm friends. Up went the cake. Up went the roses, and Robert fell down flat. His mother called the doctor, and the doctor said, now you thinking that's what you get for jumping on the bed, right? I got you. And the doctor said, say ah. And Robert said, ah. "Aha," said the doctor, "I know what made you sneeze." "I know I'm right," said the doctor. "You will see. Here, Robert, take a little sniff." Robert put his nose into the roses. He took a little sniff. Again, his nose began to itch. Again, his eyes began to itch. If you are halfway, most of you, if you're a Clemson fan, you might not figure out what's coming next, but everybody else will. Oh, I wasn't supposed to do that. Kerchoo went Robert. Bang went the window. Bang went the door. Up went the roses, and the doctor fell down flat. "I was right," said the doctor. "The roses are very bad for you. There are too many roses on this farm. You must get away from them. You must go to the city." So Robert had to go. Now, on a different story, we could preach a whole sermon about why his parents chose to get rid of him instead of the flowers on the farm. But that's not this sermon, okay? But Robert had to go. "Goodbye," he said to his mother and father. "I'll be all right in the city. I'll work. I'll find a job." They done kicking him out. They said, "Listen, I love you, but I love my roses." Robert did find a job in the city. He went to work for a milkman. He took the milkman in his wagon all around the city. It was a good job, and Robert was happy. Robert liked this kind of job. Then one day, a man walked right next to Robert. A man had a flower on his coat. We get it, right? All right. The flower was a rose, and right up under his nose. Just realized that rhymed, but all right. Robert got that funny feeling again. Then his nose began to itch, his eyes began to itch, and kerchoo! Crash went the wagon, splash went the milk, up went the milkman, and the man with the rose fell flat. "Go away," the milkman told Robert. "You can't work for me anymore." That's pretty rough. So Robert began to look for work again. He's willing to work. He's willing to keep on looking, right? But it was hard for a horse to find a job. He looked for many days. One day he saw some horses, and they had people on them. "Say, I could do that," said Robert. "I will ask for a job." Robert went to the door. He came out. "You look like a good horse," the man told Robert. "You can work for me." but you have to work hard. You'll have to do everything you are told. So Robert went to work. He did just what he was told. He went slow when he was told to go slow. When he was told to go fast, he went fast. Robert did everything he was told. I like this job. I'm going to keep this. Then one day. Isn't that like our Christian walk? Then one day. He took a woman for a ride. Everything was going well, but all at once. Look, said the woman, look at those pretty roses. I want those roses. Robert, take me over there at once. As a kid, this was the most anxiety I ever experienced. I didn't want to turn this page, church. I was like, I can't do it. I can't handle it. I know where this is going. I can't handle it. I'm a Carolina fan. I knew what was going to happen. It's like, I can't do it. I hated this woman. I can't even tell you how wrapped up in this book I was. This woman, if I had my old book, if I could have found it, crayon scribbled out her face. But Robert, take me over there. Robert knew what was going to happen, church. See, Robert had already been down this road. He loved his job. He wanted to keep his job. But what he was doing what he was told. He was doing what the person that he was doing the job for wanted. And it says, what could Robert do? He had to do as he was told. If you want to know the end of the story, you could chip in on my shipping. And brother, when I was thinking about pastor appreciation, you became Robert. You became Robert the Rose Horse. What are you saying? Why are you calling my pastor Rose Horse? Because, see, Robert had got to a place where he knew what was going to happen. He knew the place that he was going down wasn't going to end well. He knew he was allergic to roses. He saw the roses up ahead, but he was serving the lady that was riding on his back. He was serving that person, and he said, listen, even though I know this ain't going to end well for me, I'm serving her because she wants to get closer to these roses. John 15 and 13. One of the most beautiful words ascribed to the Bible. I love it. I can't even describe how beautiful these words are. They're written in red. I mean, they come straight from the source. And it says, greater love has no one than this, that someone laid down his life for his friends. I'm a guy, listen, I've been in ministry for several years. I grew up in church. My daddy was a part-time evangelist, the adult Sunday school teacher. I know what I'm looking for. And when we found this church, it was 45 minutes away. It is hard to get to church on time when you're 45 minutes away and you got 3 kids, a wife, and 50 million things calling you to stay at that camp. But I fell in love with this family. That family and Brother Lewis. When you was talking about just an unbelievable team, that's what y'all have here. Y'all are blessed. And I kept on going over, greater love has no one than this, that he lay his life down for his friends. And I couldn't help to see when I saw Brother Chuck, and I hope I don't step out of bounds here, but I saw him stand tallest just a few weeks ago. I saw him show to me that that's the man I want to get behind. And it was on a Wednesday night. See, recently, as I'm sure y'all know, Brother Chuck's mother got sick. Recently, she was going through a lot of things, and Brother Chuck, he called me. He's like, listen, I've got to get down to see my mama. Can you fill in that Sunday? And we absolutely. And we came, and we was here that Wednesday night. And what I saw blew me away. What I saw was a man that was visibly broken. And I said, I hope I don't step out of bounds. But what I saw was a man trying to keep it together as he was laying down his own life for each and every one of us. Now, he told me, I said, brother, why don't you go ahead and go? And he said, well, I like to drive at night. Well, I mean, I get that. I mean, that is, but if it was just up to him and his desires, there's nothing that's telling me any otherwise that he would have already been gone. That's mama. I've got to get to my family. But there was something important about being here with his family here and saying, I'm laying down my life there so that I could be here to take care of y'all. And then he walked through a moment. And brother, if I shouldn't be saying this, I'm sorry, but this I'm telling you, this is when I saw a man stand tall. I saw him standing right here, and he what he did was, listen, he said, I'm here for y'all. But then all of a sudden he realized, I need something. I laying down my life, and I'm doing this for y'all, but I'm walking up to these roses, and I can't handle it. I'm broken. And brother, you saw it. You saw it before anybody else did. I mean, because you got up. He was like, listen, he was trying to explain that, hey, I need somebody to pray for me. And while he's praying, you got up and you laid hands. The next thing you know, people after people just go. And I was like, I got to get in on this thing. And everybody was laying hands because they saw somebody that had so richly said, hey, I love this family so much that I lay down everything else. My drawing to be with my mama when she's so sick, my desire to be there, I lay it down because I need to be here with you to carry you through. He didn't bring up his need until he asked everybody else's need. He said, what do you need me to pray for you about? That's why he was still here. That's why he drove through the night. I don't know, brother. I worked for 16 years at the steel mill. I was a mechanic, crane operator, doing different things, and I worked shift work. On graveyard, I worked it out with my buddies. If we get a call for something broken, if it's before about 1 o'clock, I got it. After that, you out of luck, dude, because I cannot stay awake at night. It was something that night, I couldn't sleep. And I know several of y'all probably couldn't sleep because you knew that this man of God that loved y'all and stood before y'all so much was traveling on this road, and we was so worried about, was he going to be okay? And he did that all for you. Now, I get it. His statement is supposed to be, oh, I want to drive at night. Because he don't want you to feel bad. But he did it for you. He did it because he loves you. I've had the opportunity to ride. A couple weeks ago, he blessed me by I'm taking hermeneutics at Southeastern, and he blessed me by spending some time with me, and we rode to Spartanburg, and he just overwhelmed me with his love for this church and his people. This is the verse that tells you what he's all about. Jeremiah 3:15. Jeremiah 3, well, a little piece of 14 just to lead you up to it. And it says, I will take you from a city and two from a family and bring you to Zion. And 15 says this, and I will give you shepherds after my own heart who will feed you with knowledge and understanding. Did you hear that? I will give you shepherds after my own heart who will feed you with knowledge and understanding. Matthew Henry commentary says, not ones that feed themselves and fleece, in the name of Jesus, fleece, is that how you say it? Fleece the flock, but ones that will do all that they can for the good of the flock. It says, I will give you shepherds after my own heart. When we think of that, after God's own heart, who do we think of? Anybody? David, right? So I said, all right, I'll follow this. I'll see where this leads. God, show me, guide me. Let me see what's going on. So God led me to a very important chapter in the book of Psalms. Chapter 61, and let me tell you what's going on. David's going through a battle. He's going through exile. Now, they said there could be two different explanations. He either hiding from his son Absalom that kind of stuck him in the back and trying to take his throne, or he's hiding from Saul. But either way, he's in a bad place. He's hiding in exile. And this is what it says. Chapter 61, hear my cry, O God. Listen to my prayer. From the end of the earth, I call to you when my heart is faint. For a few moments, I want you to think with me. We've got a man leading us after God's own heart. He's feeding us. He's taking care of us. But what happens when he's hungry? What happens when he's going through something? Well, he showed us just a few Wednesday nights ago. And if you didn't see it, well, that's your plug to be here on Wednesday nights. There's some deep, deep, rich stuff that happens on Wednesday night. It's by far my favorite time. He showed us that. He gave us the example, and he's leading us. Now, we know what shepherds do. They lead the flock, right? Flock of sheep. I know I've heard pastors say sometimes it's like herding cats instead of sheep, but he's leading us. He's making sure we're taken care of. And what he's doing is offering us up examples to follow. He can't tell you not to go at the bar on Friday night and do your thing if he's there with you. He's leading by example. He can't tell you not to do this or that if he's not living by it. He is your example. You know, he will fall. She will fall. Brother Brad, Brother Lewis, and all of our leaders here will make mistakes. But they're trying to be an example that we can follow. So let's see this 61 here. This is kind of what I witnessed the other Wednesday night. Listen to my prayer. From the end of the earth I call to you, and my heart is faint. We saw a broken pastor. Lead me to the rock that is higher than I. For you have been my refuge, a strong tower against the enemy. Let me dwell in your tent forever. Let me take refuge under the shelter of your wings. For you, O God, have heard my vows. You have given me the heritage of those who fear your name. Prolong the life of the king. May his years endure to all generations. May he be enthroned forever before God. Appoint steadfast love and faithfulness to watch over him. So I will sing praises to your name as I perform my vows day after day. In Psalm 61, David seeks guidance and protection. Lead me to the rock that is higher than I. He realized that that's a place that he couldn't get to without God's help. Lead me to the rock that I can't get to, God. But he knew that rock, if he could get to it, if God would help him get to it, then it was going to offer him protection. God, you got me here. I couldn't get here by myself, but now that I'm here, they ain't going to hurt me. He's crying out. He says, I need help. David, he seeks God's presence. Pastor Chuck, the other Wednesday night, was seeking God's presence. It says, let me dwell in your tent forever. What's that saying? It says, listen, God, let me get to that holy place. Let me get to the place where I am just wrapped up in your arms. What was that song I was saying earlier? I'm surrounded by you. The world may tell me that I'm surrounded, but I'm surrounded by you, God. Psalms, David is seeking guidance and protection. He's seeking God's presence. But then something changes. And I want you to look with me right here. In verse 5 it says, for you, O God, have heard my vows. You have given me the heritage of those who fear your name. Now, I got stuck on that thing. Brother Charles, I couldn't move past it. I even tried to put those hermeneutical things that you taught me how to do, the exegesis things. I tried to put all that to work. I couldn't get past it. I was like, I don't understand this. I got to dig deeper. And then my wife was sitting there, and I was like, Heather, help me. And she opens up her Bible, and we're sitting there, and I open up a commentary, and all of a sudden, God allows this thing to be opened up to me. If you look at it before that, we got David that is in pain. He's crying out to God. He's saying, hey, God, I need you. I need you to take me to a place of protection. I need you to provide for me here and just let me be in your presence. And then he says, you have given me the heritage of those who fear your name. I wrote this down because if you're quoting a chapter, if you're quoting something, you're supposed to quote it right. I wrote it down and I left it. What does that mean? For you have given me the heritage of those who fear your name. The heirship of those who are the true children of God. All of a sudden, David started realizing something. I like to think, now this is just my own personal thought, I like to think that David said it and then all of a sudden it clicked. I like to think that David was in pain, he was hurting, and then he said it, then something woke up in the spirit. He says, for you have given me the heritage of those who fear your name. All of a sudden, he remembered, hey, I'm a part of the family of God. I'm a child of the King. All of a sudden, he started putting two and two together, and in my own terminology, all I could sit there, I looked at my wife, and I told her, I said, it's almost like David looked at his problems and said, do you not know who my father is? It's almost like David looked at right square up at, like he did kind of back when he looked at Goliath. All of a sudden, something rose up in him and said, hold on, do you not know who takes care of me? Do you not know who is the one that's going to lift me higher than you could reach me? See, our brother knew that. He knew what he had to connect into. I love this because from that point on, if you look, I don't know if it's in yours, but in mine, I read from the English Standard here. In mine, it all of a sudden, brother, starts including exclamation points. All of a sudden, David's got a new purpose. All of a sudden, David came as a lamb that was kind of broken and said, God, help me. All of a sudden, and then all of a sudden, he remembers something. He said, hold on a minute. Do you not remember who my God is? Do you not remember who my Father is? Do you not remember who's in control of my situation? And now all of a sudden, he's walking with a boldness. He's walking with somebody that ain't never been knocked out. He's walking like old Rocky Balboa coming up into the ring when he's staring at Ivan Dragoff there. If you don't know, get the movie. It's one of my favorites. But he's looking at him and they say, hey, he's going to break you. He's going to hurt you. But then all of a sudden he says, listen, I remember what I'm fighting for. I know what I'm going up against, but I remember the one that's fighting with me. The one that when I got into the ropes and got into this ring, he came into the ring with me. I remember that one. And all of a sudden he starts adding exclamation points. He said, you know what? Prolong my life, God. Prolong my life that I'll be here and I'll be able to endure to all generations, that he may be enthroned forever before God. Appoint steadfast love and faithfulness to watch over him. To watch over me, God. A boldness. Growing up, I got a bicycle every Christmas. You know why I got a bicycle every Christmas? Because I needed one every Christmas. I jumped ramps. Me and my friends growing up, we didn't stay in the house. If we wanted to, my mama wouldn't let me. I think she always mopped. And I think now she would mop right at the entrances just so she could tell me not to come in, the floor's wet. We need to try that. But we went through our bikes. And there was times that my chain would pop or something would do what I did. All of a sudden, I didn't have a bike. But we were tight. We grew up tight. We were a family, me and my buddies. And we wasn't going somewhere without the other. So you know what you do, right? You ride on the bike with the other person. Now, most of us smart people know that we want to ride on the back pegs and not on the handlebars. It always scared me. I was a little dude, I get it. I mean, it wasn't like it was overweight, but I couldn't see who was in control. See, the one that was in control was behind me. I couldn't tell what he was doing. But if I got on them back pegs, and I was able to lay my hands on the shoulder of the one that was in control, it was just as if I was riding that bike myself. All of a sudden, you could go wherever you want to. Go through that ditch, go through that ditch. If we fall, we falling together. See, I got a couple of my buddies. What would be called today, the word would be jerk, I guess. You get on them handlebars, and they're going to brake check you. There's nothing worse than getting brake checked on a bicycle. I'm sorry. But when I got on the back, There was one of my friends that if I had to ride on the bike with, that was the guy. He was going to take care of me, Brother Chuck. He wasn't going to brake check me. He wasn't going to do anything that made me feel uncomfortable. It was just me and this dude. We was going and we were riding. That was my guy. Brother Chuck, I hadn't known you long. I've told you this, and my wife knows this on a very extreme. I constantly pray that God gives me mentors. God's called us to pastor. Whenever that day comes, we evangelize. But all I want is some men of God in my life that can show me the way. Teach me. And when we was praying for where God was going to send us, when we finally said, all right, we got to get connected in the church. There's closer churches, but we got to get connected. My wife could tell that I was politicking for Trinity Fellowship. Now, I didn't know that that's where she wanted and the kids wanted to, but I started politicking. And she finally looked at me and she said, Brother Chuck has invested in you when he's had nothing to gain. It was a burden upon him to sow a seed into my life, and he had nothing to gain from it. And she said, God has placed him there for this season to help you. Brother Chuck, the other Wednesday night, I can't help but think that you're the pastor that I want driving my bike. You're the one that I want to put my hands on your shoulders. For however long the season lasts, whether it lasts another month or it lasts 2 years, 3 years, the rest of our lives, I don't know. But thank you. Because you've lived a Psalm 61 life in front of me. I saw you broken. I saw you lay down your life for your family. But then I saw you realize that God has got you and is carrying you. Now, I know that comes from a good support staff like Brother Brad and Brother Lewis, from an amazing wife that stands by you. I get that. That's what my wife is to me. I know that all these things play effect, but you had to make a conscious decision that, God, I die for you right now. I'm selling my life out to you completely. That, God, whatever it means, whatever it looks like, this is what it's going to be. Brother Brad, you got to a place where you said, hey, I'm selling my life out for you right now. This is God. This is whatever it means. This is you. Brother Lewis, and I don't mean to shortchange y'all, the wives. Y'all are just as important. But you said, I'm selling my life out. I'll go wherever you tell me to go. I'll do whatever you tell me to do. Because, God, I'm going to lay down my life for my friends. I choose to serve you. I asked my wife and my children to give up everything they knew, move 4 hours away from me to do something that God was telling us to do. You know what they did? They moved up here. We have to be willing to just say yes to God. I'm about to close if y'all want to come up here and play something soft. We have to be willing to say, God, lead me to the rock that is higher than I. We got to be willing to say, hey, I can't get there without you, but that's where I belong. We got to be willing to find out that there is vulnerability that comes with it, but it is okay to say, Pastor Chuck, Pastor Brad, Pastor Lewis, I want to lay my hands on your shoulders and I want you driving my bicycle. That's not taking God out of the situation. That's saying, hey, God, we're on the way to you. He's helping me get there. Why? Because God gave us shepherds after His own heart. Why should we not let them have control of our bike? On November 24th, 1964, with his hands tied behind his back, J.W. Tucker was beaten with broken bottles. After torturing Tucker and 60 of his Christian compatriots, their captors threw them into the crocodile-infested Bamakonde River to be eaten alive. This is one of your missionaries. He was an assembly guy. This is one of your guys. Tucker, the husband and father of 3, wasn't taking an uncalculated risk going into the Congo during a civil war. He counted the cost with his missionary friend, Morris Plott. Plott tried to convince his friend, don't go. If you go in, he prophetically pleaded, you won't come back out. He said, me and you friends. JW, don't do this. Think about what you're doing. If you go down there, you're not coming home. To which Tucker responded, God didn't tell me I had to come out. He only told me I had to go in. Greater love has no man, and he laid down his life. 2 days after Tucker's death, Belgian paratroopers rescued the rest of the family. Tucker's wife, Angeline, with a grieving heart prayed, thank you for delivering us out of the lion's den. We praise thee, God. We ask that you take Jay's life, which has been laid down, and use it in death for thine own glory. Did you hear the prayer of the righteous woman? She said, God, we came here because you told us to. My husband died because of where we were sent. But I want you to take his death and do something about it. Make something out of it. For 30 years, it seemed as though Tucker's sacrifice was in vain. But God answered in a unique way. You see, the Bamakonde River flows through the middle of an unreached people group called the Mangbetu tribe. Mangbetu tribe. During a time of civil unrest, the tribe's king appealed to his government for help. They sent a man known as the Brigadier. Church, this isn't Robert and the Rose Horse. This is real life. This happened. This is going on all around the world. People laying down their lives for the kingdom. They sent a man known as the Brigadier, a policeman that Tucker had led to the Lord 2 months before he was killed. Did you hear what I said? They sent this man to help with the civil unrest, and this man just so happened to have gotten saved up under JW's ministry many years ago. 2 months before JW was killed. His efforts to share the gospel with the Mangbetu had failed until he discovered an ancient tribal tradition. See, some of these tribes, when they have a tradition, they have to stick by it. It's their law. You see, the Brigadier, he found out about this tradition. The tradition says, if the blood of any man flows in the Bamakonde River, you must listen to the message. Did you hear what I said? If the blood of any man flows in the Bamakonde River, you must listen to his message. So the Brigadier gathered the village elders together and told them of a wise man whose blood had flowed in the river. Some time ago, a man was killed and his body was thrown into your river. But before he died, get this, he left you a message. Did you hear what I said? He said, hey, this man's blood flows here. But before he died, he left you a message. Because of that message, several members of the tribe fell on their knees, surrendering their lives to Jesus Christ. Since that day, thousands of Mangbetu have come to Christ, and there are dozens of churches in that region because of the man whose blood that flowed in the Bamakonde River. God didn't tell me I had to come out. He only told me I had to come in. God didn't tell me I was going to make it through with bells and whistles. God didn't tell me I wasn't going to have problems. God didn't tell me I was going to have situations. God just told me to go. That message isn't just for our pastors. That message is for all of us. That message is for you and you and you and you and you. When you say, hey, it ain't easy. Oh, it ain't easy talking about God in the workplace. It ain't easy spreading the gospel at school. It ain't easy doing this or that or that. Let me tell you something. God didn't tell you that it'd be easy. He just told you better go. That's what these men have done. That's what these ladies have done. They laid down their life so that a message could be left. Oh, my goodness. Silver and gold have I none. Brother Chuck, I don't know if you realized it yet. You've been in ministry longer than I have, so I'm sure you have. You're not going to become rich pastoring this church. Or should I say rich in man's eyes? Oh, but the jewels being laid up for his crown and glory. Because one day, Brother Chuck, Sister Lori said we may be spit upon. We may be ridiculed. We may be asked to bring these people to a cart of roses that's going to hurt me. But I was told I had to go in. Are you willing to go in? Are you willing to do whatever it takes? J.W. Tucker's wife for 30 years thought, hey, he didn't hear my prayer, but something happened. God was still working behind the scenes. And thousands of people are added to the kingdom. Why? Because that man said, I choose to lay down my life for my friends. Every time I think of this church, I don't know why, but a song comes to my mind, You're the God of this city. I see this church as a lighthouse in the community. The verse says, greater things are yet to come. Greater things are still yet to be done. I know they're going to happen. You know why? Because Pastor Chuck, his family, Pastor Brad and his family, Pastor Lewis and his family is the ones that's riding the bike. And they've pulled over on the side. They've looked you in the eyes. Said, you ain't got to get on the handlebars. Get on the back pegs, lay your hands on my shoulders, and let's do this thing together. That's what he's asking you to do. These men and ladies deserve honor. They deserve to be hugged and loved on. They deserve to be given earthly riches. But that's not what they're doing it for. They're doing it because God told them to do it. Are you doing what God told you to do? Stand with me, church. We ask you to bow your head. We're going to pray. We're going to turn it back over to my brother in just a second. I'm not going to ask you to, I'm one of those pastors, I like a response. I'm not going to ask you to do anything but open your heart right where you're at. I'm going to ask you to open your heart right where you're at and ask yourself the question, God, am I willing to do that? Am I willing to lay down my life? Not, let me tell you, not like we like to think it is. I'm laying down my life because I'm giving money in the offering plate and I'm coming to church on Sundays. Not because I'll watch a gospel movie every now and then, or I'll go when God's Not Dead's in the theater and plays it. I mean, that's great stuff. But God's saying lay down your life. God's saying, let you die before me. Let me kill you. Let me get rid of the flesh and let something new begin. Are you allowing that to happen in your life? Or are you refusing to go in? You're the God of the city. Greater things are yet to come. Those things are going to come when you go ahead and surrender your life to God in fullness. So I'm going to ask you just for a minute. I'm going to ask you just for a minute. It's just a couple minutes after 12. Just for a minute. I'm going to ask you to bow your head, close your eyes, and don't worry about anybody else's walk with the Lord. They're not your concern right now. The only concern that you have right now is you. God, am I doing enough? God, am I doing what you call me to do? God, am I willing to lay down my life for my brothers? God, does my heart break for that breaks yours? God, when I hear somebody doing something that's wrong or deceitful, do Do I judge them or do I break for them? God, is my heart breaking to say, what can I do to convince them? What am I doing? What am I doing? God, right now, challenge me. God, waken me. God, open my eyes. You're the God of this city. You're the God of this city. You're on the throne. You're in control. You're the God of this city. I want to follow you. I want to follow the shepherds that are after your own heart. I want to follow them to wherever you lead us. There's a promised land coming, but the only way we're going to get there is we follow the way God's leading. God, are we going to follow you? Allow me to follow you, Lord Jesus. Allow me to follow you, God. Because if I'm not following you, God, I'm just standing in your way.